والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. Welcome to Women in Data Science at Jeddah. My name is Khulud Khatib and I'm Stanford Ambassador for Women in Data Science for the city of Jeddah, and I'm an assistant professor at Affet University. Okay, we are very excited about today's session, and we would like to start with the opening remarks and an opening video.
Data science and any data-inspired and data-driven science is so critical right now. More and more decisions are made based on data. The amount of data that we gather every day and the insights that the data can provide us is just growing exponentially, and that is no exaggeration.
The market for data science and related areas like AI is booming.
It is so important to have women in artificial intelligence in the area of data science and also in leadership roles. It's being able to use data to solve issues and understand bigger problems. It's critical. And we need women in these roles. Every individual brings their own perspective. And so we need to make sure the entire workforce is represented.
And the good news is there's so many jobs and many different ways to combine their passion area and their skills in data science and get involved.
I would like you to say, what are the problems in the world that absolutely have to be changed? And, can you individually, given all the amazing background that you've had so far and all the education that you've got so far, what are the unique things that you can do to change the world towards that mission? And then think of the technology.
If that is going to become completely data-driven over time, then you can't miss that opportunity. You've got to join in and have your say.
If you're not looking at the data from all sorts of different angles, then you could introduce a lot of bias. So it's really, really important that we have around the table all genders, all races, all backgrounds.
We can't ignore social and structural problems. We can't just go in a corner and write some code and read math and then that's the solution, right? Can't do that. So we have to think about who is being affected by these algorithms.
Welcome to WIN!
When we first started this conference, we never would have imagined that we'd be sitting here today with over 200 regional events. We've got over 500 WIZ ambassadors worldwide. Many of them are women, but we've also got a lot of men. And these are people who are just passionate about inspiring others within their community. We're in over 60 countries, and year after year, we're blown away.
Let's make this next decade the Women in the Data Science decade.
What I love about it is that growth is viral. That people will attend one event in one city, and then they'll want to bring it to their cohort or colleagues the next year.
This type of industry can be done everywhere, so it should be accessible to everybody. And this is one of the reasons why I love that we are global with WIZ.
So we wanted to create opportunities for women to inspire, educate, and support women at many different times throughout the year. And one way that we decided we could do that was through a datathon every year, which is a predictive analytics challenge using real-world data. We have over 900 teams from 85 countries, and that's in every continent except Antarctica.
When we started WIZ in 2015, we had no idea this was going to be a global movement with tons of international events and a datathon and a podcast show and now outreach to middle school and high school. It's just been such a ride.
Our latest endeavor is to work on some materials that we can hand off to teachers in schools around the world
This has provided a platform for literally hundreds of women, if not thousands of women, to have an opportunity to be heard.
But the truth is, these are really simple experiments, but they had profound impact because they empowered someone else to be able to do their job better or to be able to take that message.
5 years ago, when we were sitting around a coffee table thinking about what WIBS could be, I never in my wildest dreams thought it could grow so far and so wide around the world in just 5 years. What I'm most excited about is the next 5 years, because I think this is really just the start.
Okay, thank you for watching the video with us. And we're also excited about women in data science over here. Under the inspiring leadership of Her Royal Highness Princess Lulu Al Faisal, Vice President of Effort University, Board of Founders and Board of Trustees, and the General Supervisor of the university, and our President, Dr. Haifa Jamal Al-Lail, it's our pleasure to present to you today Women in Data Science at Jeddah. Effort University hosted the first Women in Data Science in Saudi Arabia in 2017. We hosted another Woman in Data Science in 2019, and today Effort University is hosting the third Woman in Data Science this year 2020. In 2019, we had 3 themes: bioinformatics, business, water, and energy. This year, we decided to take a different direction. Our event today is themed around pleasant experiences, that be in art, and architecture, psychology, and HR. Our distinguished speakers are going to take you through enjoyable journeys, and you're going to witness innovation created through interdisciplinary interactions. We are embracing functional art. What you're going to see today is not new to us. We come from a heritage and culture that appreciate art, and art that is really useful. So this is a continuation of our great Islamic heritage. I would like to invite you to observe the beauty of the moving domes in Al-Masjid al-Nabawi. It's an impressive how you see the blend of art, science, and technology. And there are many examples that you can think about. So under the spectrum of data science, we develop new computer algorithms that make unconventional sense of data. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker, Dr. Malika Nouri. Dr. Malika Nouri is an assistant professor in the Provost of Effort University. She's a Clean Energy Education and Empowerment Saudi Arabian Ambassador at Clean Energy Ministry, and she's going to give us the welcoming speech. Welcome, Dr. Malak.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. شكرا دكتورة خلود على التقديم وشكرا لكل الأخوات اللي عملت على هذا البرنامج. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Our esteemed guest speakers and colleagues and the attendees of our Women in Data Science event today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all today to the Women in Data Science 2020 in Jeddah, themed around, as Dr. Khulud just mentioned, data science and creating pleasant experiences. And I hope your experience today with us will be very, very pleasant. And taking virtual place, so we're virtually meeting here simultaneously with 2 other locations in the kingdom in cooperation with Stanford University in the USA and the sponsorship of the Saudi Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. Women in Data Science aligns very well with the theme of the Saudi Vision 2030. I wanted to bring this confirmation and with empowering more women to enter STEM fields in order to achieve real social and economic development for our country. In most countries around the world, only 40 to 50% of the students are women. There is an even greater gender imbalance in STEM majors. However, in our regions, indicators show that women participation in education is relatively high compared to other countries. There is even imbalance in favor of women in Saudi Arabia and some of the Gulf states, meaning that we have even more women in receiving education compared to men. In fact, women participation in higher education reached 62% in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And another interesting fact is that among all computer science students in all Kingdom of Saudi Arabia universities, 59% are actually female. So we have much greater opportunity to create women and develop women and encourage women to join data science in our region. And this is compared to only 15% in UK and about 19% in USA. Typically, girls outperform boys in schools, but what happens at the job? The numbers really do not take the same trend, not in data science, not in any of the STEM jobs. In 2015, women took up only 25% to 26% of data professionals, and only 13% of the CIO jobs, the Chief Information Technology. Women are also not retained in the STEM jobs, with about half of them leaving the field after a few years to join other fields. So there is also a gap here that we need to think about and fill. With the massive explosion in both data generated and retained, it is essential to make sense out of the data, the big data, to inform critical strategies and advancement. Women can take charge of this and share with the world innovative ways of data analysis, modeling, statistics, engineering prototypes to solve the world's problems. And with the current pandemic facing all of us and all the global issues raised as a result of this health crisis, I cannot ignore the notion that with better data science and more data scientists, we could have predicted and possibly avoided this crisis. And this is my own thinking, and I cannot just ignore it. Let us hope that our gathering today brings us to the state of understanding of the requirements of better data science to all. Iffat University reflects on Queen Iffat, God rest her soul, vision of women's support and empowerment. We continue to take assertive and ambitious steps towards this objective. We have an ambitious strategy to provide the highest quality of education for women in the various fields of science and technology. Iffat University, it is known that we established the first engineering college for women in Saudi Arabia, and under its umbrella, we have the various programs such as computer science and computer engineering, and many researchers that leverage data sciences. We are proud to create a prospering learning environment for future data scientists to develop and to join the demanding workforce in this discipline. We orchestrated all our efforts in the harmony of liberal arts education, augmented by our national and international academic and industrial partnerships. Our latest advancement in training female students in data science field is the launch of our newly revamped computer science bachelor degree program with two main concentrations: artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Students develop the skills needed to design, create, administer, and apply AI and cybersecurity systems to any field. Graduates will be able to engage in careers in many sectors of the economy, such as education, game development, manufacturing, retail, advertising, government, and many, many others. Our academic programs are designed in collaboration with distinguished academic institutions around the world, such as Georgetown University, Syracuse, Duke University, Boston, Carnegie Mellon University in the USA, and Western Sydney in Australia, and Bocconi University in Italy. For our CS program, computer science program, our partner is Tokai University in Japan. We are accredited nationally and internationally, and more than 60% of our graduates joined top companies in Saudi Arabia and internationally, and more than 15% are pursuing their higher education. We are glad to recognize today, in collaboration with Stanford University in the USA and with you, the achievement of women in data science in our community. Let us work together for better data science for all, and I hope you enjoy our event today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Melek, for this very thoughtful word. And now let's move to our keynotes with Ms. Mary Lou Bolt, and she is the Enrichment Program Director at King Abdullah University for Science and Technology, and Ms. Nadia Sabura, an interactive media artist and designer that comes to us from Zurich. Welcome to the stage.
أشكركم جزيل الشكر لدعوتي إلى هذه الندوة عبر إنترنت ورستان الدكتورة خلود خطيب والدكتورة ملك النوري. هذا اسمه Connecting Art and Science. I joined KAOST as a founding member staff in 2009, excited to help in developing the next generation of scientists. King Abdullah University of Science and Technology is a graduate-level research university on the shore of the Red Sea, full of life, full of students from marine biotechnology to data science and petrochemical research who want to make an impact for a better planet. Amazing place. So, what is this Connecting Art and Science topic? A new lab at KAOST? A new curriculum? No. Connect Art and Science is part of the DNA of the Enrichment Programs Office in the Academic Affairs Department. KAOST is a unique place with a multidisciplinary approach, and we strongly believe that the art and science fields, together, can foster creativity and innovation and can engage with the public. I cite here a KAOST alumni, Melissa, who is doing a PhD in marine science and is also the founder of a startup. Making art is one of the ways I know how to share message. I work with an international talented team, 6 women and 1 man, and our role is to enhance the student experience, to fuel students with innovative ideas, to expand their horizons, and to facilitate personal and professional development. We are responsible for 3 programs, including the annual flagship Winter Enrichment Program held in January on campus, the TEDx KAOST conferences, and the KAOST Artists in Labs program. How do we do? We identify and invite scientists, artists, performers from all around the world and from the kingdom to deliver lectures and courses about science and art. Some of the events are mandatory for the student to attend. I will give you a few examples. Rachel Sussman is an artist from Brooklyn, and her research project is closely related to the research of a scientist. Since 2004, Rachel has been researching, working with biologists and traveling the world to photograph continuously living organisms 2,000 years old and older. The work spans disciplines, continents, and millennia. It's part art, and part science. This original index of millennia, all organisms, have never been before created in the arts or in sciences. Dava Sobel is a science writer. She's accomplished at uncovering the hidden stories of science and conveying complex information with ease and grace. She's a bestseller author. She wrote Longitude, which is about the race to discover means for determining position at sea. Many famous scientists, including Galileo, Isaac Newton, appear in the story, but the solution to the longitude problem came from an unknown, self-educated clockmaker, John Harrison, who devoted 40 years of efforts. Another book, The Glass Universe, tells the story of a woman who worked at the Harvard College Observatory and helped discover the substance of the stars and the distances to them. At that time, the director decided to hire a woman because he believed women were careful workers and would accept lower pay than men. Ivan Viola, the research interest of Professor Viola is scalable technology for interactive molecular visualization, with the ultimate goal of constructing and modeling the entire complex biological cell at atomistic detail. This technology will allow people to interact, explore, study, and understand the life at nanoscale. We organize also workshops and courses for Chaos students and for nominated students from the Kingdom in collaboration with top organizations such as ISRA about the process of creativity, Art Jamil on calligraphy and geometry. We offer a SciComm workshop led by film producer Todd Nims, Basma Abdul Karim, and Yasser bin Abdul Rahman, which aims at teaching students to be compelling video communicators. We collaborate regularly with Anastasia Krenova, who is a scientific photographer at KAOST, to promote the public understanding of science and data through visual expression. We have also recently launched a contest for designing the poster of our upcoming academic program at KAOST, the 2021 web program on connectivity. It is a way to connect the artists and designers of the KAOST community and of 5 universities in the Kingdom. You are invited to submit your design by June 21st. And we thought we could go further. Since 2016, we are developing a program in Saudi Arabia called Artists in Labs in collaboration with the Institute for Cultural Studies in the Arts at Zurich University of the Arts. The concept is to immerse a group of scientists and one artist in the same space, a scientific lab, during a limited period of time, 3 months. The results are all about creativity, innovation, beauty, and enrichment. I will let you discover a video, then I will leave the floor, the e-floor, to one of the artists of the program, Nadia Suvorova, who will take us on her journey among the science and data world. Finally, Nadia and I will answer your question and explain how you can connect and follow us.
I applied for the Artisanat's residency because it was about culture, and I thought, okay, I need to take this opportunity.
لما يعني انقال لي انه هذا البرنامج انه فيه اصلا يتكلم عن جبال الألب كان مفوتنا ليا.
I had a really good relationship with Frederick. This period was very rich in understanding how much we could do for arts and with arts.
I need to work with materials.
Scientists, the artists provided different collaboration. Scientists, the artists are good at certain science.
Artists is far outside of the normal way in which we look at things.
Art and science and communicate.
She came up with
so many ideas that it's beyond our imagination from a scientific perspective.
Marie has a very nice structure. I just bring our 10 by 10 centimeter type.
يعني كانت أجمل حلقة شفتها من ناحية جمالية جدا وشعرية.
مع بنات وهذا الحالة انت جد وقتك او مساحة للكلمة.
I was interested in doing something with it.
This is a place full of ideas.
Where we started is so miles away from where we ended up with.
القامة اللي أكثر من ممتاز.
Hey.
So I hope you found this experience inspiring, and it is my pleasure to introduce Nadia Suvorova. She's an interactive media artist and designer based in Zurich who has received numerous awards. At the junction between art and science, from the scale of particle physics to the vast cosmos, she explores the grace of the natural world. She is particularly interested in the role that the human plays in discovering and shaping nature, seeking not only to explore this relationship, but to challenge and shift our perspective regarding our environment. She creates installations, video games, interactive documentaries, sculptures, graphics, and more.
Thank you, Marie-Laure, for the introduction. As an interactive media artist, I'm operating between the physical and imaginative realms. Constantly shifting, I'm using surface, texture, color, light reflection, and changes in shape and form to reveal and engage with the invisible. 2 years ago, I spent 3 months at the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology in the Artists in Labs Residency. I was collaborating with a group of scientists from the Visual Computing Center. They were developing a camera that is able to capture the polarization effects of light. By investigating different environments, the scientists expected to eventually discover information invisible to the human eye. What role does the human play in discovering and shaping nature? I was seeking not only to explore the relationship, but also challenge and shift our perspective. Polarization vision is widely used by the octopuses and other marine creatures to navigate, to detect predators, and to communicate with each other. However, human beings are almost blind to it without the help of optical devices. Additionally, pressure, depth, temperature, visibility, and air all limit humans from exploring a mysterious underwater world. How can we better understand the behavior of underwater creatures? What can humans do with this new information? And how will the advancement in technology change our perception of the invisible? Together with the scientists, we were working with polarization camera in different environments: indoors, outdoors, and underwater. One of our goals was to build up a visual database of different surfaces, objects, and materials. We later served for this research on the polarization effects in different environments. At the weekly meetings, the scientists were reporting the results through math, using incomprehensive terms for me. Triggered by these captivating but yet puzzling conversations, I made a series of template rulers that explore the phenomenology of polarized light. These rulers translate complex scientific concepts and phenomena in a very simple and graspable way. With each of them, you can draw different scenarios on finding polarized light in your environment. The next project I want to talk about, which I also developed during my residency, and which was inspired by the outdoor experiments with the scientists. This project was inspired by my interaction with the environment and how we can actually capture the natural polarized light in the environment. As a result of my research and experiments with the scientists, I started building my own optical instrument. I call it light catcher. With the light catcher, you scout the horizon until you uncover a spot where light is naturally polarized. Caught by the instrument, the reflected light is converted and translated into a colorful kaleidoscopic pattern that reveals its hidden dimensions. A solar cell powers a system of rotating lenses to modulate these patterns over time. During our underwater fieldwork, we expected to find fish or even octopuses to capture with our polarization camera. We were in water for a couple of hours with the scientists, but we haven't seen, unfortunately, any underwater creature at all. I was specifically curious to meet octopuses because of its ability to create polarized signals on their skin. Octopuses communicate with each other through these signals, which are not visible to the human eye. Only other octopuses can see and understand these signals. With the polarization camera developed by the scientists from KAUST, we could eventually capture these signals to see them with our own eyes. During that time, I created these refractive glass sculptures. Like octopus skin, they communicate through invisible colorful patterns that reveal themselves only to octopuses or to the humans equipped with a special observation filter. In the last field trip that I made at KAUST, I finally met the octopus, but I didn't have a polarization camera with me, so its secret messages stayed invisible to me. Scientifically, humans are one of the most evolved creatures on this planet, and yet our senses are very limited compared to many other species. We developed technology to extend our senses with the hope to understand other creatures in our nature. But even if we can read their signals, will we understand them? Will we use our new abilities to communicate with them? Or what can we learn from these creatures? Thank you very much for your attention. This is the end of my presentation.
All right, a very interesting presentation. Thank you very much, Mary-Lou and Nadia. You made us all inspired to visit KAUST and explore the underwater. Apparently the marines over there are very exciting. So I have two questions for you over here, actually multiple questions, but we'll select two for the time. The first question that I have is what are the skills required to join the Artist in the Lab program of KAUST? So Mary-Lou, probably you can help us with this question?
Yes, of course. So we do have a call every year, and this call is open. Usually it's an artist that has some experience and is ready to spend 3 months, you know, in Switzerland, if it's a Saudi artist, or if it's an artist coming from Switzerland in Saudi Arabia. So there is a committee, there is a call. Currently there is a call for Swiss artists going to Saudi, hopefully in the spring next year. Stay tuned. We will let you know. Otherwise, to get information, people can visit our website, enrichment.kaost.edu.sa.
Very good. Thank you very much. And the second question I have is for Nadia. What the methods used for polarization imaging?
The method, I mean, scientifically speaking.
Yes.
So I cannot say as a scientist, because me, I'm an artist, and I was just collaborated with scientists. But the group with which I was working, they were developing a camera.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the principle is to filter the normal light that we all see with a special filter, which blocks the certain rays and eliminates certain rays, and only leave the polarized ones. And this principle was applied to develop this polarization camera. Yeah, so the complex is quite complex, even if it sounds quite might sound a bit simple, but yeah, the principle is to somehow eliminate, filter all unnecessary light and leave only polarized one.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you very much for a very rich presentation, Marilou and Nadia. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And now we move to another interesting speech by Dr. Arij El-Wabil. Dr. Arij is going to tell us about brainwave sensors-based art as a research and creative field. Dr. Arij is the CEO of the Human-Computer Interaction Design Center.
شكرا دكتورة خلود. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحضور الكرام، استسمحكم بالتحدث باللغة الإنجليزية. المعذرة for technical difficulty. السلام عليكم everyone. Thank you Dr. Khulud for the invitation to take part in WITS Jeddah 2020. It is such a pleasure to return to Jeddah, where we started our first WITS journey in the kingdom a few years back in 2017. Thank you so much for hosting us in the launch of WITS in the kingdom, and for the continued efforts in supporting the community of data scientists in the kingdom. The presentation that I would like to share with the community today is the culmination of work of artists, designers, engineers, and computer scientists for the past decade. For over 10 years, we have been working in the space of artistic expression that is data-driven. So much of the work that we have conducted in the past few years were for the objective of diagnostics or interventions in the health domain. And what we found is that communicating the findings of such research was quite challenging for the public and for the practitioners in the domain. Now, with specialists and domain experts, experts and subject matter experts, the communication of scientific findings was streamlined. However, when we communicate the findings and use the data to raise awareness, we found that different modes of expressing the insights was needed. And this is what we're hoping to share with the community today. I'll start with the general topic that we have scoped for this session, and that is brain-computer interfaces for AI-driven artistic expression. Much of the work that we do is deep learning based on the data sets that we acquire in our diagnostic research or our experimental research with different modes of interventions for specific communities. Now, the general research question that has guided the work that we have in the Human Computer Interaction Lab were mainly how can we observe the brain activity and manipulate the brain waves for artistic purposes? How can we emphasize or amplify the trends that we identify and showcase that to practitioners or caregivers who support the people who have been monitored for a specific diagnostic disease or in a specific diagnostic study for a disease or for the design of an intervention? So that
المعذرة عندك عرض we cannot see your presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try. Does the PowerPoint show on the screen, Doctora? I'm sorry, Dr. Hudud, is the PowerPoint on the screen?
We still don't see the PowerPoint, Doctora.
That is أعتذر. Let me try again. And
that's okay. We're all growing in this digital platforms. We're building the knowledge.
That is very strange. Can I ask now if the PowerPoint is on the screen, Doctora?
I still don't see it.
Any changes on the screen, Madira?
It is loading now. Excellent. Thank you. Now we see it.
Excellent. I do apologize. So let me go through these slides just for the sake of times real quick. The topic is brain art, the brain-computer interfaces for AI-driven artistic expression. As I mentioned earlier, it is the culmination of work that has been conducted in the Human Computer Interaction Lab for the past 10 years, and this has spanned researchers and clinicians across several institutions, including King Saud University, King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology, and the medical cities in the Riyadh region, King Faisal Specialist Hospital and King Fahd Medical City. The guiding research question for the work that I would be sharing with you today is basically how can we utilize the streams of brain information that we have captured for the purpose of diagnostics and interventions and use the trends that we identify to communicate the insights for the stakeholders or for the caregivers or even for the patients themselves or educators in the context of educational software. So how do we manipulate brainwaves was a question that we explored in different studies, and this is what we will showcase in immersive environments that we've created. And we also look at how does one with these AI-driven artistic expressions that we generate from deep learning models on these data sets, how can we use them to communicate communicate the insights from data practitioners, from data to the public and for practitioners. Now, moving on to the next screen, and just to check, Dr. Khulud, is the screen transitioning to the next slide, just to make sure?
I still see the screen titled PCI for AI-driven artistic expression.
With devices as the first word, am I correct?
No, I don't see with devices. Oh yeah, here we go.
All right, so with the second slide basically highlights that the devices that we use are low fidelity, medium fidelity, EEG devices for reading the brain waves. The high fidelity devices are often used in clinical settings for patients such as epilepsy and other neurological disorders. So much of the devices that we have low resolution. However, they are capable of detecting variations in the patterns in such a way that distinctions can be identified between experimental groups and control groups. So the devices that we use are often deployed by students, by scientists, researchers for target populations for a duration of time and using different stimuli, and we translate that into an in-depth understanding of phenomena or behaviors that are not often observed visually. And this is where we deployed them mainly with hidden disabilities, such as cognitive difficulties. Such examples include autism, ADHD, and other difficulties due to brain trauma or brain injuries. So mainly with these devices, we look at the visualizations of the brain, but not necessarily as a whole, in which we look at the different parts of the brain, but the flattened, let's say, space or visualization that we have of digital signal processing. So mainly we take these signals and we look at the patterns, the spikes that are correlated with human behavior in whatever observation that we have. So with the brain activity, we visualize it. In a clinical sense, it's the visualization of the brain in the traditional machines such as MRI and other scans and radiology devices or approaches, I would say, from the scientific side. However, what we do is we take these signals and manipulate them so that they can amplify the variations that we have between experimental groups and control groups. And we also look at the stimuli that trigger these patterns to help tell a story and narrative with the immersive environments that we create. So making use of these measured affective states of a human, let's say if it's anxiety or if it's a relaxed state of mind or a stress state of interaction, such as reading for people with reading difficulties or playing for people with social interaction difficulties, such as children with autism and others, can be detected with these sensors. So the scope basically is what can we observe and stimulate with these brain activities, and what can we observe and what story can we tell with this data. And that is the beginning of the journey of 3 use cases that we will be sharing with you today. The first is brain visualizations in specific learning difficulties, and the context here is with reading Arabic scripts. So with children with dyslexia, we have been conducting for the past decade research in eye tracking and to understand the underlying difficulties that children reading who have difficulty reading Arabic scripts experience, and what is the evidence that we can find in the variations between children with dyslexia and children without the control groups. So it is a specific learning difficulty. It causes problems with abilities used for learning, such as reading, writing, and recognizing shapes and numbers and so on, and phonological processing. However, unlike a learning disability, the intelligence isn't affected. They often the ones that participate in our study, and generally they often have average intelligence, and in some cases above average intelligence. The prevalence is quite high in the local population. We have an estimated 10% of the population has a diagnosis, is a person with a specific learning difficulty. which is aligned with the prevalence, the global prevalence estimates. Now, with visual dyslexia in particular, it's not a physical problem with the eye, it's the neurological problem of what the person sees. It's similar to what a person might experience as you are looking at this visual here on the screen, the rotating snakes by Kitayoka. What you see here is the sense of animation when in fact the image is a static image. So what we try to do is emulate what the children with dyslexia experience with these sensors that can uncover what we don't see, what we see in the context of reading, and what we hear in the context of reading is perhaps a pause or a stutter or repeating the words, which are indicators of a struggle or a variation in the way the text is being processed. But what we found is evidence of these variations that are very clear, and that could explain these hidden disabilities. So we started the track with eye tracking, and the colleagues here that were engaged with this line of work, Arwa Al-Adeli, who is now an assistant professor at University of Hayel. At that time, she was a PhD student at King Saud University, and our co-supervisor, Dr. Yusuf Al-Oli at King Saud University. So these eye tracking studies showed evidence of clear distinctions between a child with dyslexia and a child that has no reading difficulties in the way they read and the way they interact. Now, once we found this evidence, the next phase was to look in the brain. So we were seeing through the dyslexic's eyes using the eye tracking device, and that's measuring the infrared reflection of the cornea when they are reading, and we can narrow it down to the letter level or the diacritics in the Arabic script. But then with the brain visualizations, we were able to see the variation in the different areas of the brain that are triggered very differently for a child with dyslexia when compared to a child with no reading difficulties. Now, with immersive environments, what we try to do is walk the visitor through the brains of the individuals who have this hidden disability so that they experience and they identify the spikes in activity and learn the link, the correlation of these variations with the stimuli in the activity. So in this narrative, in this example of reading for dyslexia, the child might be reading and revisiting a word or simply pausing, a long pause when they are reading. So when the words in Arabic calligraphy are projected on the screens, you can see the speed and the brain activity, the speed of speaking and reading aligned with the brain activity of a child reading. And then you turn the other way in this immersive environment and see a normal a normal case, a child with no reading difficulties and speaking reading the word or the sentence without difficulty, in addition to a balanced activity in the brain. So that distinction highlights the areas that are different between the two groups and can raise awareness but for teachers, practitioners, parents, and even peers for the person with specific learning difficulty who could be among them, and in many cases with a prevalence of 10% could be a student in the classroom or within the circle of learning or play within that community. So that was effective in that sense. If we move on and look into another type of visualization, and that is in the context of speech and language therapy, we looked at an interesting correlation between anxiety and stuttering, which has been demonstrated in the literature, but very rarely with brain activity. And this work was conducted and led by a PhD student at that time, Abir Nafjan. Dr. Abir now is a professor in Imam University, and also with co-supervision of Dr. Yusuf Al-Ohli and Dr. Manar Husni. In that line of work, we wanted to examine the correlation between anxiety and stutter, basically. It's a speech and language impairment in which it can be due to physical or emotional triggers, and in our case we were looking at the brain activity during stuttering. So we had the audio clips and the spoken words of children in which anxiety levels, when they increase, the stuttering becomes more prevalent and more evident in the spoken words. So in these immersive environments, it is with the same pattern. We do have the brain signals and we do have the spoken words projected in immersive environments that can showcase the words and the brain activity that indicate the anxiety. In many cases, we would have the audiences ask, how do you link brain activity to emotions? And usually affective states can be predicted from the brain activity. So the affective state of anxiety or stress could easily be classified with high accuracy based on the brain waves. And on the other end of the spectrum, a meditative, relaxed state of mind could also be detected. And this is where we look for the correlation. When in a speech and language therapy session, it is very important to have the child or the individual in a relaxed state of mind so that they can benefit from the intervention, and that is the therapy. So this kind of visualization can not only raise awareness for the practitioners, there's also that stigma with some hidden disabilities, and this narrative basically opens the line of discussing these topics between people who might be experiencing it with others who might be around them as family members, friends, or the community at large. The third example or use case that we would like to share with you in this session is the brain visualizations in attention deficit disorders. So in this line of work, it's mainly visual attention in a more gamified environment in gaming. So I can here just highlight real quick the traits that are of interest, and this work was conducted by Arwa Shatri, who is now a researcher in King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology, and was co-supervised with Dr. Yusuf Al-Ohali at King Saud University. This was for her master's thesis. It started with eye tracking and ADHD and designing games so that the individuals play with their eyes and to see, to measure sustained attention, basically. There's instantaneous attention to attract the attention. However, people with ADHD struggle to sustain the attention. So the data there was very rich, and it was interesting to see the contrast between a person with ADHD or ADD, attention deficit disorders, and a typically developing child who did not have the condition. And with that, the brain waves could, in applying deep learning modules on the brain waves, we could see the variation much more evident. So along the same lines of designing immersive displays, we had the data, the patterns magnified, and again, in a context of gaming environment. The game was in the eye tracking sense, in the eye tracking context, was named Terkizi, and that was its branding. And then moving to low fidelity BCI headsets to read EEG signals, we had at that time used Emotive. And at the moment, we are moving to medium grade EEG signals to have higher resolution data. With that, these are just brief insights, looks at the display, the immersive displays that have been designed in the context of brain visualizations to communicate our findings to an audience beyond the context of a research lab. And again, this work wasn't the output of one or a few people. It was an army of scientists, researchers, engineers, designers, and research assistants. I list a few here, and with each and every publication that was listed in the previous slides, you can find more of the teams acknowledged in each and every phase of the work. And I extend my appreciation to the teams that were with us in this exploratory journey. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to share our work, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arija. Definitely very insightful and enjoyable presentation. We do have a lot of questions for you, but for the time, I guess we'll take a couple of questions. The first question is asking about data sets for the brainwave signals. Are there any data sets, open source data sets that they could use for doing such analysis?
Well, the data sets, yes, the BCI open data sets are available for global data sets. And locally, we do have a few data sets that could be made available with license for the researchers who are interested. So they're invited to reach out to us at the HCI lab or to my email, arija@mit.edu. It's something that we often share and open to scientific researchers. They're anonymized data sets. However, it is very important for us to attribute the effort that has gone into collecting these data sets, especially from hard-to-reach populations. And for that reason, they're not at the moment open data sets. However, they are licensed for use, and we're happy to connect with whoever is interested for this kind of analysis.
Wonderful. I guess the second question we have for you, Doctora, is what's next?
The exhibit, well, that's a good question. What we're hoping, COVID permitting, that the exhibits are actually open to the public. The plan was for them to be open this spring. We have rolled it out a few months ahead, and it's looking more towards 2021. So the direct answer to this question is hopefully 2021 we would have these exhibits and open them to the public. The proof of concept and the demos have been shared basically with our community, our stakeholders, to basically probe and see if there is interest. And we're hoping that such exhibits could be accessible to a wider publication. They were definitely eye-opening for many of our audiences and our communities, and we would love to have that reach a much wider community.
We hope so as well. Thank you very much, Dr. Aries. We can't thank you enough for this beautiful presentation. Okay. So next, we have another interesting presentation that merged the art and science, and it's basically by Dr. Affat Abdullah Fadak, an associate professor of art from the University of Jeddah, and her speech is titled "Beyond the Boundaries: Exploring Intersection Between Art and Technology."
السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تسمعوني؟ السلام عليكم. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to begin by thanking Affat University for hosting this event and their very kind invitation. Dr. Khulud, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be part of this amazing network of women in data science from around the kingdom. In this talk, I will take you through my experiment and multidisciplinary approach of art, projects, and practice by questioning: how do we define art? How do we explore the intersection between art and technology? Learning from the past and present to impact the future. Artist has always is a form of communication, is a mirror of human change. It is a language, it is a language, a subject that crosses discipline to create new hybrid forms of aesthetic. Artists have been using traditional and non-traditional medium as a tool of communication, investigation, and researching for the unknown sublime. To challenge themselves, artists have extended their borders and pushed their own boundaries using various multidisciplinary approaches. These multidisciplinary approaches are very clear in Islamic art. Artists in search for their divine is the poet, the mathematician, and the biologist. Through members of algorithms and numbers and fractals, Islamic art was known for its geometric pattern. In search for the divine, artists, scholars such as Al-Ghazali, Ibn Rushd, Ibn al-Farabi, theories have paved the way for scholars such as Al-Juzri to contribute to history of robotics by inventing automated devices. In the Roman period, the Renaissance period, artists also used mathematical techniques in their search for their divine. These mathematical approaches was bounded by the golden ratio, Fibonacci's number, linear and aerial perspective, proportion, and fractal to create illusion in three-dimensional space in a flat surface. Ideal and experiment were intertwining with various disciplines where no borders between the disciplines existed. Literature and science worked hand in hand to develop artists' concepts and ideas. This is clear in Leonardo da Vinci's art and invention, Raphael's painting, and Michelangelo's sculpture. The list can go on and on by artists to create their work. Their invention of the flat mirror during the Renaissance led to a change of self-perception, which strongly influenced portrait, painting, and the artist's self-portrayal. Through the invention of photography in the 19th century, portrait came to a widespread of everyday commodity. These experience, the experience of the cinema at the time of its invention was felt to be a major sensation. The relationship between art and technology has rooted in the motion picture industry, with early films such as the Lumiere Brothers and George Méliès. Artists continue to investigate with theories and topics associated with physics, astronomy, and cosmology. In the 1920s, Kurt Schwitters, who was famous for his collages, worked with different medium like sound, painting, sculpture, graphic design, and he had transformed his family house in Hanover to an installation space. His work, Mizrabu, was as a constant flux, taking the audience instead of them standing in front of the work. He took them to a journey to that space. So this is where the installation came on. In 1950, where the era of computer, scientists, artists used computer as a medium to express their artistic language. Early experiment with computers was Frederick Nerk. He created computer algorithms and enabled the machine to draw a series of shapes to make art. The result were something, one of the earliest examples of them computer generating drawings done by a computer and performed by a potter. In the 70s, Bruce Newman took the audience to another journey with his live taped video recording, using technology to integrate the audience into the installation. Also, Sonia Sheridan integrated art with new technology and funded the Generative System program at the School of Art Institute of Chicago to explore creative possibilities and interdisciplinary approaches in fine art. Sonia replaced hand tool with electronic technology using industrial photocopier and computer as a creative tools. In 1980, the implementation of Roman frescoes, digital art was totally different from Sonia, whereas Roman created his image by drawing with an algorithm code he created, a technique he called mind hand. By producing innovative field of creative expansion using science and technology, virtual reality gave artists the opportunity to elaborate their installation in expand form of digital space. Tina Sheridan and Peggy Shrugging stated, there are 4 developments which paved the way to virtual reality: room installation, the audience interaction possibility, the moving image from film and video, as well as the computer technology. Artwork 2199 by Figment N is a performative visual reality installation, highlighted the notion of authority, perception, and control. It allows us to begin to question the virtual and the relationship to reality. In my studies, I try to push the boundaries to enrich the experience and experimenting with various media to go beyond my artistic limits. From traditional practice to as a painter to a multidisciplinary approach, investigating the possibilities of my imagination and envisioning aiming to reach the intersection in art, science, and technology in my practice. Looking at the art ecosystem in Saudi Arabia and recording the need and the gaps of the academic sector and art practice was a challenge. I started to set my own methodology of teaching and implementing them to my academic classes in the university and projects. In 2010, with the need of art in the society, I established Naqsh Art Studio, an interdisciplinary studio, a platform where artists, designers, poets, scientists, and engineers are there gathered to meet and discuss various opportunities that can help the development of art ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. Workshop, lecture, residency was part of these activities held in the studio. In 2012, artist Gonzalo Parampino, a Spanish artist who worked with the intersection of biology and art in searching for the lost identity, was invited for a 1-month residency, organizing workshop and lecture for artists in the community. And through the various collaboration with academic institution, organization, and artists, projects such as Hakawi, Hikayat Ashara with Zainab Adinsi, with collaboration with Dar al-Hikmah University and Ula Foundation, programs was designed and developed and executed. Curating the 6th edition of 2139 exhibition Al-Ubur in 2019 gave me also an additional opportunity to push the boundaries and challenge the definition of art in the society. Al-Ubur was one of Al-Ubur was a project that I worked with, trying to push these boundaries with a different language, a language that is not really clear in the society. The selection of artists in the show was selected to blur these boundaries between engineering and science and biology. The collaboration with Midwam was a great opportunity for pushing the bar and involving technology and media as well for artists to explore. This shocking interface started a debate in the society on what is purely aesthetic and what is art. What is an artwork? Nasser al-Shumaimri art piece Transcendence is an interactive electroacoustic. He was one of the artists who was selected in the exhibition. His installation was installation was part of connecting microphones and speakers and the floor. Viewers are invited to enter the space with where the microphones are in the floor, and they started to bring up these dialogues of audio, sounds present and dynamic and transferring the sound evoking feeling and emotion from within that individuals who are stepping in that space. So curating individual sound piece influenced by audio, the audience movement in that space. Mohamed Shouno was also one of the artists Mohanad Shouni was one of the artists there. He presented Al-Mars, questioning the techno-colonialism of his interest in recording the past and the present. The art piece shows his approaches to working with both tradition, media, and robotic program motors. And Nicholas Binsberg, F716, is an interactive sound installation. In his installation, he used sensors to observe the audience behavior. Audience enter the space. The space is fitted with these machines and devices, which is mounted by a tracking system with camera. The tracking device tracks the audience for a specific element that is programmed for. And in the show, the specific element was the temperature of the person. Once the device finds the random candidate, a message was sent to that person asking specific programmed questions. Can you hear me? Are you receiving the message? Pushing and waiting for the response. Pausing and waiting for that response. The intimate nature of the conversation being attempted by the machine is confusing or perhaps slightly uncomfortable. Even more confusing if the fact that the sound itself seemed like it began being emitted from an audience member's own body. The machine are sending these waves. The waves are the sound are coming from the body of that person. F716 opens up relevant questions about privacy, civilians, public space, and empathy. How can we respond to empathetic queries? And does our responses change where we know the source of the communication is a machine? These are all significant questions in the context of today's world, where technology is becoming intertwined in our behavior in ways we are not always fully aware of. Curating also our Dr. in Asir was additional experience, presenting artists such as Alwara Nahani and Jamila Matir, who experienced and exploring with various media such as technology and database engineering, gave us a great opportunity for the audience to engage and be part on the quest of questioning what is art. Artists will continue to push the boundaries with the universal accessibility of computer and software and smartphones. This made the connection and the justification between technology and the art no longer rigid. This has also helped artists to envision new possibilities, new creative possibilities on artistic expression. Working with the PhD students, such as Najla Al-Kubaisi, who is attempting to merge, to blur and merge the boundaries between her practice, the traditional printmaking and digital technology, while Ghaid Iraqi is intended to investigate with AI in her practice. With these challenges of interest in the field of art practice, questions around aesthetic, imagination, and creativity started to emerge. Will technology ever satisfy the human imagination? Can the machine be creative? And how can the machine judge its own creativity? How can we define this new aesthetic? For me, it is essential to strengthen the connection between disciplines, building communities of artists, designers, scientists, united by shared passion. It's a must to nurture and develop our own art ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. Artists and designers are willing to explore with digital tools and partner with digital industry to unlock their creativity and create new art forms. This is where the potential of the future lies. This is the beginning of a larger cultural dialogue. university institutions and art colleges should consider introducing new courses and new programs, new projects that can also fill the gap between art, science, and technology, and start collaboration with various institution organizations to support the study of art and technology in the kingdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Affat. What impressive projects that you're working on. You really made us think further about this merge between science and art. I have a lot of questions for you, actually, but we'll select again for the time just a couple of questions. The first questions that I have is in yesterday's session, in Riyadh session, we witnessed a speech about social robots. Is there a time in which we're going to see artistic robots? We're going to have robots that create art by themselves through data? So you feed the data and then they will create art for you. Do you see this coming?
Yes, of course. It had been in the AI summit in Riyadh as well. There was the exhibition where artists, some of the artwork was done by an AI robot. So yeah.
Okay, so that's very nice. The second question that I have for you, Dr. Affat, so you within these projects that you have, the students fall under which program? Would that be under the art program? Would that be computer science program?
Well, most of the students that I work with are from the art colleges. I've been working also with different individuals from different backgrounds, like engineering, computer science, architecture, but with specific programs and the research that I'm working with the students are from the university. Some of them also sound engineering and sound music artists, like Nasser al-Shimami, for example.
Okay, very good. An interesting question over here. To which level you need to support the computer in creating art?
To what level I have to support, or
to which level? Yeah, to which level you can support the computer in creating art? Again, I think this could be related to the first question. Here we're looking at the level of automation. At this point, can we say that we have full automation, or we still need to have the human interaction to a certain level?
I think to have an aesthetic, this is where where the thoughts of aesthetic and beauty and judgment of the artwork comes, because if we have these machines, but to make it human, there has to be an involvement of the human presence in there. So if you're going to give the computer information, eventually it's going to be you as human. But I can see in the future that maybe that the computer can access the information he needs or its needs to bring its own visual presence or forms.
And that's also a very interesting point, as we consider beauty as a subjective aspect. So how can you program the robot or let's say the algorithm that you have about let's say the measurement of beauty within a certain culture? That'd be an interesting thing to witness in the future.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Affat. We really enjoyed your speech.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. And now we have another interesting presentation as well with Dr. Najwa Al-Ghamdi, Assistant Professor in the College of Computer and Information Science at Kingston University. Dr. Najwa is going to tell us about an experience that she had in Riyadh Artathon in a speech titled Artificial Intelligence-Based Art, Engagement of the Local Community with emerging Saudi art sense using deep learning.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. First, I just want to double check if my mic is on. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So hello everyone, this is Dr. Najwa Al-Ghamdi. I am an assistant professor in the College of Computer and Information Sciences at King Saud University. So I'm basically here today to share our experience in using AI to generate creative artwork. So in particular, I would like to share our stories with my colleagues as a winning team in the Artathon. So the Artathon is basically using AI to create art hackathon that was organized last January by the Saudi Authority for Data and Artificial Intelligence as one of the global AI summit initiatives. So the Artathon basically brought together more than 2,000 artists and AI experts from around the world to create AI-generated art. And we were lucky enough to be selected, me and my team, to have this wonderful opportunity to present our work. So my team is basically myself and Dr. Noura Rajeba and Dr. Afnan Sbayhin. We are all holding a PhD in computer science, and we work in the University of King Saud University. We actually joined the Artathon as AI experts, and Dr. Afnan Sbayhin also has an artistic background in creating watercolor portraits. So our ultimate vision was basically to engage the local community in creating art scene with the help of the professional Saudi artists. What we know for sure is that 50% of the Saudi youth have a Snapchat account, and they do enjoy creating stream art photography every day by posting them on SnapMap. So our vision was basically to enhance that stream by adding a layer of artistic complexity and visual interest borrowed from our local Saudi artists. As you know, on the SnapMap, you can, if you are a Snapchat user, on the SnapMap, you can have many public stories that you can navigate and see what Snapchat posts have been posted there. And especially this is very evident at the main Saudi landmarks, like, for example, Mecca and Medina. Simply, the Snapchatter create these stories by posting ordinary snaps that capture these landmarks. So our goal is to transform these ordinary snaps into extraordinary artwork so that the public story of these places become an art gallery that might attract tourists. And we think that this can be achieved by borrowing the style from our Saudi artists and use it to enhance the snaps and then repost them again back to the same public story. We have many applications on our mind, to be honest, and one of the main applications that we think about is basically a simple Snapchat filter that the users can use it and can apply directly some enhancements on the snaps that were created on the location on these landmarks. And we make use, for example, the artwork of the artists who basically from these specific landmarks to use the enhancements. Another example or application of the enhancements is basically to employ this technology and by having an augmented museum. So this museum can have many points of interest around Saudi Arabia so that the visitors will be able to take photos of such momentum inside the museum and then apply different styles from local artists. This could create a diverse collection of photos in different styles and also can create a 360 view of the momentums using images taken from different angles or different perspectives. So we were thinking about that these museums can also have a portal where the visitors can submit their snaps or their captured images, And that portal can automatically create a movie that compiles all the submissions using AI techniques in computer vision. So to apply this, we used basically style transfer, which is in a nutshell is a neural style transfer is basically an optimization technique that can use two images, the content image and the style image, and blend them together so that the output would look like the content image, but painted in the style of the style reference images. This is usually can be implemented by optimizing the output images to match the content or the statistics of the content images and the style statistics of the style images. And these statistics can be extracted from the images using CNN. Okay, I'm showing now the proof of concept that we have presented in the Artathon. So we have basically two types of data sets that we utilize it in the Artathon. The first one is the content data source, which is basically the snaps that have been scraped automatically from the snap map. And the reason why using basically Snapchat, we know that the 50%, as I mentioned earlier, that 50% of the Saudis are using Snapchat. And we think that it has an immense potential for generating future artwork that could involve the local community. We were interested during the Artathon in 3 locations, Medina, Al-Ula, and Mecca, Al-Mukarrama. They were very active hotspots on the snap map at that time, and they features a very nice photography that can make use of the proposed enhancement method. As for the data sets, the style data sets, basically, we used our colleague, Dr. Afnan Lispahin's work. And this definitely is just a nice example of the Saudi artist work. And it definitely can be easily extended to generate the interest of the art community and to accommodate more artists in that scene. So just to sum up, the methodology was the first step that we were thinking about. What if the machine was a Snapchatter? So first we extract all the content images that can be used. And this is by either using the scraping techniques that we applied, or for example, for the landmarks that basically has less activity, we can use simply GAN to generate these snaps by imitating the style of the Snapchatters and learning how do they create these snaps and then generate extra or addition data set that can be used in the future. The second step, we applied the style by using, as I mentioned earlier, the style transfer, just to add the layer of the artistic complexity and the visual interest. Finally, we compiled all these generated videos into generated images and artworks into one video, and we used basically a cover from a local music just to show the relevance. So this basically figures show our methodology. And in this video, we show little did the Snapchatters know they were making art all along. And I will leave you with this video that show our proof of concept that was presented in the Artathon.
So this is basically the end of my presentation. Just to, we basically as a team have passed the first and the second level of the competition. And now we are waiting for our final results. And we hope that we got the chance to present our final work in the AI Summit. And I hope you enjoyed our presentation. And thank you so much again for giving me the opportunity to present my work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Najwa. A very, very exciting approach in mixing the art and science. Question for you, Doctora. What difficulties did you encounter in the artathon?
To be honest, it was the first time for me and my colleagues actually to join an artathon. One of the, it wasn't really a difficult experience, to be honest. It was very, very enjoyable, very rich experience where we met a lot of people from different backgrounds. And I think by that time, we were very limited with the set of hardwares we got. Let's say, also, we needed to learn more, you know, to get more hands-on experience on some, you know, topics in the deep learning stuff. You know, deep learning usually requires a very high-tech, you know, tools. But actually, the nice thing about the artathon that they supported us with all the set of workshops that help us to learn the workaround techniques on how to overcome the technical limitations for training, for example, large GAN network, for instance. So we learned a lot, to be honest, and it was very, very pleasant experience.
Wonderful. The second question I have for you, Doctora, is do you see any commercial application to the algorithm you develop?
Yes, so, as I showed in the presentation, one of the commercial application actually is just a Snapchat filter that can be incorporated in the design of the Snapchat itself. And another application can be just an app that can be used by the museums where they enable the visitors to take pictures of whatever, you know, momentums inside these museums and try to incorporate them and to blend them together with their favorite Saudi artist, for example. Or for another example, also, if we have like a photo booth where users can actually plug in their pictures and generate them and print them, for example, into 3D or whatever you know, techniques we have to generate, you know, 3D 3D artwork, for example. So there are a number of things that we thought about, me and my colleagues, how to present this work commercially.
Very good. Okay, for the sake of time, we will have to thank you, Dr. Najwa, and truly you impressed us with all this beautiful work you did. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for everything.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. All right. So next, we're gonna have a very interesting presentation by Ms. Sarah Wafa, the Customer Engagement Executive at SAP. Sarah is going to talk to us about the data-driven improved human experience through SAP solutions. Welcome, Sarah, to the virtual floor.
Hello.
Yes, Sarah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
مرحبا، أنا سارة فيصل وفا. شكرا لدعوتي لهذه المبادرة من دكتورة خلود الخطيب وجامعة عفت. thank you everyone for having this initiative. I'm Sarah Wafa from SAP. I work as a customer engagement executive. And today I'll be talking about how human experience management and how data guided action can improve the human experience in organizations. We had multiple talks in the previous sessions about how the importance of the brain map and the well-being into interaction with the computer. From my side, I'll be talking more about the human aspect of multiple touch point within an employee life cycle or a customer life cycle, and how these data can help into improving the actions and at the end improve the bottom line of the business and improve the KPIs of a business. So I'm shedding light now about the outline. So we're going to talk about the human experience management, why human experience management is important, how listening a data guided action can improve businesses, and improving well-being through human experience management during crisis such we're having right now with the pandemic that we're facing right now and the difficult times that we're facing, and how we can help at least in a little bit of communication with the employees. So I'm giving an overview about SAP success factors and how our solution can help organizations improve the interaction of their people and help them during the full life cycle of an employee, from starting from recruiting and onboarding until helping them to develop and train them and how to be engaged within the organization. All of that will help us also in implementing a culture of communication and connection, and also with using the intelligent tools such as machine learning and prediction with the monitoring. It will help us to align both operational data and experience data. And I will shed light more about these solutions. So here we're talking about the intelligent enterprise, which is SAP vision for businesses and future of work for your employees and the best experience for your customers. So here, when we talk about X data or experience data, we're gathering the why, the data that relates to customer or employee, and getting these information from multiple touch points during their life cycle, inject this with the intelligence and with the operational data. So operational data, we're talking about data that we already have in the organization from either HR, finance, supply chain, procurement, and making sense of the what and why and understand why things are happening through the intelligence suite that we're having from analytics, data management, machine learning. All of these intelligent tools will make the data that we have more informative. So we do have SAP Analytics Cloud Solution, SAP Cloud Platform. This will gain us more powerful insight and directly impact business results. So this will redefining human capital analytics for us by putting data, insight, and guidance in the right context for leaders across the organization. Our People Analytics solution provides you the single platform for a cloud for all reporting and business intelligence and planning needs. By pulling this data from across the entire solution, People Analytics offer dynamic insights to help you make decisions. So now I'm going to talk about more about the what and why. And we mentioned operational data. So these are the data coming from your organization, tells you the what, the numbers from procurement or HR. The most interesting area here is the experience data. So this is the human factor data or the beliefs, emotions, and intentions that tell you why. For example, why employees are leaving the organization, why our candidates are rejecting offers from an organization. So I'm here talking more about the employee and recruitment, for example. And it's very important to know the why aspects and link it with your operation data so you can put a guided plan. These guided plan will help you to have an impact and help you to reach to your business goals and KPIs, which at the end drive business results. So the human experience management, here ultimately we're talking about personalized employee experience. That goes back to the human experience interaction with computer. So more personalized employee experience, easy to use and all of that, supports seamless and personalized interaction. That also one of the benefit that we're offering. And offering interface that are simple to use and navigate while positively impact productivity. At the end, productivity is very important for us to make sure that we're reaching to the business outcomes and the KPIs of the organization. One of the areas that we care about also is having from having the human experience management, the result would be a motivated, engaged workforce and directly contribute to your target business outcomes. In the employee experiences, it's made of moments that matter, from the first interaction as a candidate until the time they exit or retire for an employee, for example. So each life cycle or each moments that matter, it's very important for us to understand and hear what the employee are going through or if they have any challenges. So when we talk about driving employee engagement as part of the human experience management, so what is it? So we're talking about here managing employee experience is not about pinpointing one event or a single moment. People leaders need the ability to collect feedback at every moment that matters and take action to close experience gaps. So why do I need it? Companies that deliver great employee experiences deliver better business results, including higher employee productivity, lower turnover, and great customer satisfaction. And it will help you understand the reasons behind what's happening across your organization. So here we're coming again about the why things are happening. So SAP are focusing on one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is good health and well-being. And part of it is the humanization of technology. So we're helping people to thrive at work. And there's a Thrive Global initiative with Thrive Global, Qualtrics and SAP SuccessFactors announced the launch of Thrive XM Experience Management Index, which is a first ever tool that measures how employee experience and well-being affect business performance. So here we're talking about a comprehensive well-being program. It validates the links between an organization people experience and its business performance. Thrive Global and Qualtrics and SAP are doing this index, which allow company to identify their employee experience gaps across the moments that matter. So we're talking here about SAP Qualtrics employee engagement. It's important to understand that during disruption, such what we're having right now, and adapting quickly is a very critical aspect for both employee and business to implement an expectation that are likely fundamentally to change. So one of the most important things is to continuously listening to employees and capture feedback. So the major benefits out of Qualtrics employee engagements are continuously listening to employees to capture feedback, identify and close employee experience gaps at key touch points or moments that matters, unite your employees around your company's cultural values, prioritize actions to address health and well-being, enable leaders with data and guided action planning. So I'm showing here just an example of how people engagement dashboard can help you identify the major interaction with your employees and how you're listening to them and the feedback they input, and how then you can align these feedback with an actionable items that you can track and check the progress through a timeline. So if you can see here the engagement trends will show you the amount of improvement that is happening if a specific action was done, and it will help you to understand more of the effectiveness of the actions that you're trying to implement in your organization through such a dashboarding mechanism. So you have a guided action plan and a text IQ to uncover trending issues. And all of that, of course, the power of machine learning and prediction and trending. So also from the major benefits that we're seeing is the improve employee engagement organization-wide. So you're pinpointing experience, engagement, and productive drivers. So you can act in real time to create a world-class culture. You can see how your actions impact productivity and KPIs. So this help enable leaders and managers with personalized dashboards that are mapped to the organization's hierarchy. It empowers managers with data and guided action planning, which identify the actions needed to improve the employee experience and support managers with built-in guided action planning. So here I'm going to talk about what we're facing recently with the COVID-19 and the pandemic and how SAP can help organization worldwide, not just in business and companies, also in healthcare and education. How we can improve the well-being through human experience management during crisis. So I'm going to switch my slide. So I'll be stop sharing and then I'll share it again. Okay, I'm sharing my other screen. Okay, so I'm gonna showcase to you how SAP and Qualtrics are helping in such difficult time and I would say the new norm. So there are some tools provided publicly for organization to use to get a sense of how their employee or their students or their customer are doing through this pandemic. And one of these areas is there's actually two sides. There is checking your remote work pulse. So you want to know how your remote worker are doing. Are they to be able to work on their engagement? So that's one of the aspects that I'm going to talk about. So there are three major pillars that we need to identify, which is first, ask employees if they're okay. So this is ensure your employees to feel safe and supported. It's very crucial time to be compassionate. All organizations need to be connected with their employees and making sure they have a continuous communication. Next, ensure that employees have what they need, understand the resources and information employees require for their work, act quickly to help employees stay productive. So we're here enabling employee to feel productive and be successful. So you're providing them with the resources that they needed, technology that you needed to make sure they're doing their job. And I'm going to share how simple steps that any organization can use now. You can upload your list of employees or names, and you have ready template to check their feelings or their well-being and health. And the nice thing that you can even edit these templates with the questions that you want. So for example, if they're feeling a little bit cloudy or rainy, then you're asking them why and see if you can help them with an action plan that can improve their well-being and help. So here, this is an example of the results that you're showing. So these results will be tracked per team. So it will help you understand which team that really need to be focused on action plan. And it will help you to track later on the results. Now, the good thing also, this is what we called about action plan. So here, for example, we are talking about a question, desired status update, communication frequency on COVID-19. So you're asking your employee how frequent you want the organization to communicate with you. And we see here that there is a need to have a more frequent communication from senior leadership. So how we can target this question, for example, then you'll be adding an action to increase frequency of company communication. And then you can track later on in the next pulse if this communication was helpful to the employees and they're feeling engaged and they're feeling that the organization are caring about their health. Now I'm talking about the additional solution. So we'll talk about the remote work pulse. There is also a healthcare workforce pulse. So you can check your frontline healthcare people, if they are safe, do they have the right equipment to do their job safely, and making sure not just their physical safety, also their well-being and their mental health is what we're focused on. And here also there is other materials for remote educator, so education, remote learning pulse, to make sure that your students are engaged and if there is any help that they needed or something to be adjusted. Again, the good thing here is that you're not just measuring and listening to your people, you're also putting an actionable plan that is trackable and can be benchmarked with your KPIs. So that's all from my side, and thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Yes, you do have a lot of questions. I have to select from them. I don't know which one to start with, but apparently very interesting speech, and you engage the audience. Okay, how this module help the HR manager to select the best candidate?
Okay, so overall, in success factors, it has its own modules for recruiting and understand the skills of a candidate and benchmark it with the job profile, for example. In such Qualtrics survey, it will help you more into understanding the soft skills or the emotional aspects of an employee, which help you later on understand their personality and how they are fit to the culture of the business.
Very good. And actually, there is a question about the culture. Will this module help you understand the different cultures in the business?
Definitely. It will make you understand the importance of each team, what they're coming from, if they care a lot about achievements, or they care about, let's say, sharing the knowledge. So you will know where to focus your actions with them, and it will help you understand more of how you target each individuals in the different type of communication style or working style.
Excellent. Another question is related to what you were discussing about the COVID-19 development. Would you be able to incorporate new technologies with this module? Let's say a thermometer or an Apple Watch, or these wearables or sensors?
So I'm not sure exactly. It depends on the technology, but we've seen that there was an interaction with some hospital systems to make sure that the frontline employees or medical people are being measured accordingly, or it's as a simple survey. So again, it depends on the requirements and needs, and I think that can be explored further with the solution team.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much, Sarah, for this very insightful presentation. It has been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Dr. Khulud. Thank you.
Thanks. We have one presentation, unfortunately, that we're going to miss today, which is Data Science in Positive Psychology, Application and Possibilities by Dr. Sadiqa Al-Ghalib. She's an assistant professor, education and psychology, and the founder of the Positive Psychology and Wellbeing Lab in Affet University. Unfortunately, she was not able to join us for reasons beyond her control. With that, I would like to conclude our session for today. I'd like to thank our presenters for very rich presentations, and would like to thank the audience for this interaction, and definitely our sponsors, our strategic partners, the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, Bayaniyun and Ata Platform, our platinum sponsor, Mozen and Gold sponsor, SB International, and Affet University. Thank you very much for making this event possible, and we definitely look forward for WITS 2021. Thank you. I'd like to leave you with this concluding video.
وعدت مجتمعها بعطاء رقمي ما لا حد، حتى صارت منارة تقنية تلهم كل رائدة وتساعدها تشوف أحلامها واقع. قائدة ما سمحت لشيء يوقفها، هي نور اليوم وأمل الغد، هي انعكاس مستقبل الوطن. أيقنت أن عزيمتها طريق نجاحها، زاد وعيها فعرفت وجهتها، آمنت بقيمة الفرق اللي تصنعه، طموحة تعلمت مهارات المستقبل، ووعدت مجتمعها بعطاء رقمي ما لا حد، حتى صارت منارة تقنية تلهم كل رائدة وتساعدها تشوف أحلامها واقع. قائدة ما سمحت لشيء يوقفها، هي نور اليوم وأمل الغد، هي انعكاس مستقبل الوطن.